and it went up to 87. So strong volume, strong movement in terms of the advances, but volumes are a little low in the market. Rohit Srivastava joins me on the show. Rohit, first your take on what is happening in the markets right now. Lackluster volumes, not much interest?
Yeah, it's the New Year period. You typically see very thin trading, but we are seeing a lot of activity in, I think, the broad market. The advanced declines are pretty strong, as you were saying. The mid-cap indices have actually moved above the last week's high, falling. So they're actually doing better than the Nifty itself. It's possible the Nifty does a catch-up. The first resistance that I'm looking at is at around 83.20. And if we do go beyond that on the spot, then we can stretch all the way up to 84.80. But 83.20 would be the first level that I would be watching for. But looking at the broad market, it's possible we do extend, but nothing is ruled out right now. I think the next couple of days are just going to be to wait and watch and see whether we can continue making higher tops and bottoms and develop a trend on the upside. Or is this just a retracement of the entire sell-off that we saw last month from 86.20 all the way down to 79.50, which is what my primary view is, that we might still just be retracing those losses. The question is just of how much. We've already done around 61% last week, and then we sold off a bit. So are we going to again head higher, maybe 80% retracement, which is where 84.80 comes in? Or are we just going to falter at some of the moving averages at around 83.30? So that's what we are going to be watching the next couple of days. I'm not so sure that we are in a trend up. If that was the view, then we'd be looking at new highs, but I'm still not of that view. And probably watch it for next couple of days and take a call on that. But initial sense is that we head a little higher and then sell off from there again.
Yeah, because the first attempt at retracing some of those losses took us to about 83.65 levels. Then we dropped a little bit, and then the last trading session kind of looked like the bulls and bears were evenly matched on Friday, and a comeback today. But the volumes are still pretty low, right? You would have to have significant volumes to back this up move. Even the Friday's trades were very, very lackluster. Volumes would have to back this move for there to be significant breakthrough, right?
Yeah, volumes do tend to be missing at around this part of the year, which is why whatever trend indications we get are not certain. We saw it even last year. There was very dull trading, 20-30 points at the most on the Sensex. Compared to that, this is still a better day in terms of the size of the move, but in terms of volumes, yes, we are very thin.
When we saw that up move, the previous up move going all the way to 86.27 levels, there's that entire band of consolidation which took place from that level you're talking about, that 83.25 odd, and then all the way up to 84.50, that 150 odd points. There's an entire band. Do you think that is going to be a little difficult for the Nifty to go through that if there's no significant volumes?
Yeah, I think so. If you don't get buying volume, especially in the large cap stocks, then going beyond 83.50 should be difficult, and in fact maybe just 83.20 odd. That's where the 20-day moving average is. So usually if the trend is weak, you would probably not go above the 20-day average. Like I said, we've already retraced 61% at 83.50, so we don't have to go back there. But because the broader indices, like the mid-cap indices, have already gone above the equivalent high, so that creates a sense that, maybe something different is going on. Maybe we are doing a bigger retracement, it's just not visible yet. And in that case, you have to be open to 84.80. You'd really know the case based on, either faltering of the broad market or you'd get a catch-up from the main index, So there are a couple of open options in the very short term. You can't really pinpoint exactly how it will turn out. Except say that it still looks like a retracement. That's, I think, the only thing that we can conclude.
Rohit, I'm going to ask you to wear your fundamental cap and take off your technical cap, invisible caps, of course. But tell me what you think is happening right now and how do you see things moving in 2015, at least in the first quarter?
I'm probably not the most optimistic on a macro level. The index might have done well. My view has always been that we've not completed the interest rate cycle, which is the view of most people. I think there is upside to interest rates in India as well. My long-term 10-year GSEC bond yield target remains at above 10 to 11%. It might sound absurd, and there may be no logic as to why that should happen right now. But I guess that's the broad macro theme. And I think till we really reverse the interest rate cycle for sure, we are not into
Are you saying
smooth
this
ride,
based
as far
on
as the
charts,
markets are concerned.
Rohit? Are you saying that the long-term yields that you're talking about is based on charts?
Completely, because I don't think there is any better way of looking at it. And you need to take a very, very long-term time horizon. So I'm looking at like a 15 to 20-year time chart of the 10-year bond yield for India. And if you look at that time horizon, the last time you had a significant drop in bond yields was way back in between 1999 and 2002. And that triggered the previous cycle. And after that, we've been in some kind of an broad range, channeling upwards. And we've not really reached the upper end of that range, and which is closer to 10 to 11%. So I think something is incomplete as far as the interest rate cycle is concerned. And usually, and on the other hand, what I've been writing about on the macroeconomic side is that we have stretched debts. Initially, that idea was not bought into. Now it's widely accepted that yes, we have stretched balance sheets in the private sector, but not the public sector. That is, the government itself is not stretched, and at some point you need to get the government to start investing. And I think the current RBI governors speaking completely on those lines that let's control the macro factors before you go into a spending cycle. And I think that's the right track, but the thing is, it takes time. It cannot happen overnight. It may take 6 to 12 months for that entire cycle to play out. And in that time period, I think there are a lot of macroeconomic risks from the currency and from interest rates that we need to watch out for.
That's interesting. You're saying that the charts are saying interest rates are unlikely to go down, and two things which could actually play a fundamental role there is one, of course, is increased government borrowing. If the government has to spend to kickstart the economy, it will have to perhaps borrow a little bit more, increase its fiscal deficit, and then interest rates would tend to go up in a certain sense. And also any change in the arbitrage, international global arbitrage in interest rates can lead to a massive flight of debt fund investments from portfolio side, in which case the RBI will be kind of forced to keep interest rates high, right?
Yes, a lot of the macro reports that I read are already citing that risk. The amazing thing is that I think because of the way our currency has been managed, they are seeing India as a lesser risk nation. So they're listing out that yes, a rising dollar, rising spreads between junk bond and US long-term bond yields are a risk that most of the emerging markets face. And at the end of those notes, I find that they try and say that India might be less affected. So I think somewhere the mood or actually the sentiment towards India has definitely become a little more positive on that front. But if I think about it, I don't think we can go unaffected. So to some extent, it would have an impact. And especially given our current situation in terms of the currency and that we've still not seen a growth pickup, and we still have, like you said, government spending to happen, at some point that can cause an issue. But if we're going to keep yields high, the spreads might remain high for India. So it's a little tricky to see how that would play out.
Because if I had to be the devil's advocate, I would say that India's currency has been strong largely because of the fact that the commodity cycle has broadly collapsed across the world. Prices have come down. Our import costs have come down. Our current account deficit on its own has more or less come under control because of what the government did with gold last year onwards. And fund flows have picked up based on sentiment. So if funds have been coming in, there has been demand for rupee. The rupee has more or less stayed strong against other currencies, if not against the dollar. But that can change overnight.
Absolutely. In fact, I think it probably will, because how long can you keep the rupee strong versus so many other currencies that are devaluing on an ongoing basis? at some point it starts hurting your exports. I think internally exporters will start putting pressure on, why you're holding the rupee back. So I don't think you can hold it back. In fact, you would get forced to devalue at some point of time. If you keep doing this, the pressure will mount that, why don't you devalue the rupee by, 5 to 10% and, let things go on. Because at this point, you still haven't seen China jump into the currency war in a big way. You've seen Japan devalue. And the Chinese yuan is actually now 50% stronger than the Japanese yen over the last 1.5 years. And that's a huge impact. So I don't think China would like that to continue. And the moment China starts devaluing, where does that leave us? In terms of our exports, we are competing with. That's one of the biggest competitors on a lot of products. So I think the pressure on the currency to devalue will definitely come in, and that can put pressure on fund flows, and that can put pressure on rates. So those are the macro risks that I think none of us are really pricing in. Markets are not pricing in at this moment.
Would you say that, I'm going to paint a scenario for you, and I want to ask you whether there is a clear lag and dissociation between the way in which the markets move and the real economy moves? Because, more or less almost every corporate you talk to, especially those who are in the capital goods or infrastructure sector, they say the government needs to spend a little bit. The governments need to kickstart the economy. You can't expect that interest rates go down, we are going to borrow, because there's no one to sell to. So why should I borrow in any case? I have excess capacity. Why should I borrow? Now, given that, if the government invests, increases the fiscal deficit, then a Fitch or a Standard Poor is going to say that, okay, I'm actually going to downgrade it, or I'm going to put you on some kind of an alert. And the risk premium that you'll have to pay to be in India slightly increases, so funds start flowing out. The markets actually see fund movement out, but the fact that the government is going to spend is going to improve macroeconomic situation in India. So growth comes back, but markets actually go down. Is that a possibility?
The way I see it is that the government debt ratios have come down significantly over the last several years, because we've kept interest rates far lower than inflation. So that has actually helped the government have space to spend. And the question is, will it? Now, if you look at the government's mandate, a large part of its mandate has been to control inflation. Now, if you just go on a spending spree tomorrow morning, you'll get inflation coming right back at you a year down the line. And I think in your own recent interview, that's exactly what Dr. Rajan was trying to point out. So the ideal situation is where you have inflation under fair control, and you're able to cut rates, without having to deal with inflation again. In that environment, the government would find it far easier to even borrow money and invest in the economy and get growth back. So I think that's the ideal situation, and that's the direction that he's trying to set us up for. But the path to that point appears like a very long way.
From one's own personal experience, no one cares about inflation if you're earning well. You start bothering about inflation if your earnings also go down. So sometimes we tend to think that inflation is the problem, but it tends to be how much you can spend. Rohit Srivastava, thanks so much for joining us. Pleasure talking to you. Happy New Year in advance. We'll see you in the beginning of January. And since you were talking about the governor, let me remind our viewers again that at 1 o'clock today, we'll be paying out that entire interview with Raghuram Rajan, RBI Governor. Dr. Prannoy Roy spoke to him, and a lot of students asked him questions. He answered them 1.5 hours. Watch that at 1 o'clock today.